How's it going, everyone? Welcome back to the corner. I am the DM as always. And today, I want to talk about trigger gems and why I don't have sympathy for people who had their cast on freeze builds bricked. Okay, so if you didn't know, the latest like kind of big patch that they did for Path of Exile included this, which is basically rebalancing is how I call it. Rebalancing trigger gems, which are things like cast on freeze, cast on ignite, cast on minion death, cast on critical strike, those kind of gems, right? Basically, what they say here was that it was far too easy to use elements to trigger spells. One problem with the previous system is that if we balanced it to make triggering happen in boss fights, then the triggering would happen far too often during clearing. In order to address this, we are now making monster power part of the calculation for energy gain. So this means like if you're killing 50 white mobs at once, rather than having your trigger gem proc like 500,000 times, it will proc maybe 2 or 3 times, right? Whereas if you're killing a rare mob or a boss, you're going to have it trigger much more often than that, right? You're going to maybe have it trigger like 6 or 7 times during the fight. I'm not that those aren't the actual numbers, by the way. Those are just like random numbers that I'm throwing out. Okay. Now, this means that it's far easier to trigger skills from unique monsters than it was from normal, or than it is from normal monsters. But you also hit many more normal monsters when fighting. Another issue was using low-level skills with unconditional ailments, such as freezing orb or frost orb or incinerate, right? Which just proc the effect. Applications such as also flame wall to ignite enemies for triggering in order to make the source of the ignite matter, we are making the energy gain dependent on the strength of the ignite. We also have rebalanced all energy gain across the board, right? Now, a lot of people are bitching, moaning, and complaining about how their build got bricked. Why don't I have sympathy for this? Okay. Well, I don't have sympathy for cast on freeze builds because they were blatantly overpowered. Okay. This game has been out for maybe a week. It's in early access. They've already made sweeping nerfs to other skills that were blatantly overpowered. Okay. And we're going to take a look at a few of those in a second, right? So people who are sitting here still playing cast on freeze after things like supercharged slam, which was shown to just legitimately one-shot bosses, people that continue to play them, I don't have sympathy for it because they've shown that they're willing to just nuke these kind of blatantly overpowered skills, right? So let's look at least 2 examples here. We got this one from Gold Farming Guide. I mean, the name is in the title, or the nerf is in the title, right? So let's look at this. Is it? This is a cast on freeze, right? He sends. Look at this. He presses one button. It goes through. Right there, it went through 2 mobs. Look at this. You see how much, and this is a boss, right? Like, this is insane. This should not be something that is possible where he casts one skill, and look at that. Like, it takes off a quarter of the boss's health from like 1 or 2 casts. Okay. And then over here we have one on Darth Microtransactions page. Let's watch this. Wow. By the way, I want you all to keep an eye on this, okay? This shows how much energy they are gaining when they cast it, okay? I want you to just watch and stare at this number. I guess I went back. Oh no, I went forward. Whoops. So keep an eye on this number, okay? It's supposed to show your energy gain. You will notice how this number is not moving because the amount of energy he is gaining is so enormous that it can't move. This mod pack is a perfect example, okay? Look at all of those meteors that come down. And mind you, these gems only trigger when something is frozen, okay? So, this build is blatantly overpowered. And anyone who would stop to think about it for a second after seeing the supercharged slam nerf would have realized that this build is going to get nuked. Because it is blatant in how overpowered it is in the exact same way that supercharged slam was. Okay. Now there's a few other things that I want to show off to just kind of emphasize how blatant this shit was. All right, so this is another one from someone who only has 4 subscribers. This is a cast on ignite, right? Using incinerate to trigger comet. Okay. And here you can actually see the meter go up, and it's ticking up by like 14% per ignite trigger. And this was not just ignite. This was also on cast on freeze. It was going up by like almost 15-20% for each instance. Okay. This is why I don't have any sympathy for them. Does it suck for them? Sure. There are people out there that try and say that minions are blatantly overpowered. They're not. I play a minion build. It's not overpowered. Okay? Do I have to cast any skills to use minions? No. However, the minions are the skills that I'm using. And it's not like I'm using one singular minion to cause massive amounts of damage. 1, you have to have multiple minions. 2, you have to have a lot of spirit in order to have multiple minions. 3, you have to actually spec with your passive tree into these minions to make sure that they can actually do something. Okay? Cast on freeze, you don't need to put passive points into freeze chance. Because all you have to do is use one skill, which was freezing orb. You put a couple of support gems into this one skill. You cast this one skill maybe 1 or 2 times, and you watch 15 meteors rain down from the sky and obliterate the screen. So that's why I just don't have sympathy for these people who are using blatantly overpowered skills. This is an early access game that has been out for less than a week. GGG has shown themselves to be more than willing to nuke skills that are massively overperforming, like Supercharged Slam and Cast On skills. And so if you are unwilling to take this kind of thing into consideration, then in my opinion, it is your fault when your character gets bricked. Now, that being said, I still believe wholeheartedly that GGG, because this is an early access game, should hand out free respecs. I fully believe this. And the reason why is not because they're nuking my build into the ground. No, fuck that. I don't give a shit about that. I think they should do this. I think they should give out free respecs because it's an early access game. I think that whenever they do a patch that is this massive, okay, where they're changing a whole lot of things, they should be giving out free respecs. They simply should. But I also don't have any sympathy whatsoever for people who are using something that is borderline an exploit. That's all I got to say. Thank you all for watching. Thank you all for coming to my corner. Hit the like button, hit subscribe if you liked the video. If you don't, hit dislike, leave a comment letting me know why Cast on Freeze was not blatantly overpowered. And I'll see you next time.